If you're not sure what belt or bury is and you missed out on the first one that we did with Cody Rhodes in the past, it's pretty simple. We take a wrestler that isn't currently holding a title and break down whether that person deserves to hold a championship at the moment or if the opposite should take place and they should be taken down a peg. Whatever we decide, we then give our opinions on how we think WWE should go about putting that plan into action. On this edition, we're taking a look at a man who just recently attempted to try to cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase but came up short, and a lot of people are wondering where WWE is going to be taking his career. That man is Damien Sandow, and he has yet to win a single title in WWE so far, if you don't count the briefcase being a title in some way. So when push comes to shove, what do you do with the guy? Do you bury him or do you put a title on him? Peyton, why don't you start us off? What direction would you take Damien Sandow?
Damien Sandow is an extremely talented fellow who I think for too long has remained in the back scenes. Yes, everyone has to pay their dues, everyone has to work their way up, but the guy has not been working up. And suddenly it seems he went from being completely obscure to being a main event contender. It's too rushed, but I do think he deserves some shine. Maybe not the world title, not just yet, but I would absolutely give the guy a belt. Whether it's a mid card title, I would say he would be great with the new retro intercontinental title. I think that would look very, very fitting around his waist. But even if you wanted to once again make him a tag team champion, I'm shocked that Rhodes Scholars never got the tag titles for as great as they were. So for me, Damien Sandow, absolutely give the guy a belt.
Which belt would you go with? The Intercontinental?
If I had to choose one, it would be the Intercontinental, yes.
And how would you do it? Would you do that like right now? Would you give him the Intercontinental title from Curtis Axel, or would you kind of like wait a little bit? Who would you kind of
Um,
want him to feud with? That kind of stuff.
well, traditional wrestling logic, I don't think you could just have him take it from Curtis Axel. You would have to do the good old transitional, and I guess you could rely on good old Kofi for something like that, or maybe you could even do that with somebody new. I mean, giving someone else a chance to shine, even if they only do a short transitional. Someone perhaps like a Zack Ryder or a returning Tyson Kidd would be excellent opportunities to do that with. In fact, Tyson Kidd would be a perfect person. Have him do one or two good matches with Curtis Axel, so Curtis Axel doesn't look like a complete goof at the end of his run, and then start a few month program with Damien Sandow. Those guys could have excellent kick-ass matches. I don't know how the mic work would be. Damien Sandow would definitely overshadow Tyson Kidd by a long par, unless he was taking some acting lessons on his off time. Then again, maybe he's better than I think. I don't know. I guess we haven't had too much of an opportunity to really see what Tyson Kidd's got in the tank.
What kind of time frame would you put the title on him? Around WrestleMania?
Royal Rumble.
Hmm.
I would have him win at Royal Rumble and hold it into WrestleMania.
I don't know if you plan that far ahead with it, but if you're going with that, would you have him defend the title at WrestleMania? And if you
Absolutely.
would, who would he defend it against?
In my opinion, the Intercontinental title should always be defended at WrestleMania.
I agree.
And as far as who he should defend it against, why not Cody?
Yeah,
Reignite that feud just in time for WrestleMania, and this time have a title on the line.
that's a good point. So what do you think that they should do with the whole John Cena thing right now? How do they get him out of this where he doesn't look too bad, but at the same time he doesn't actually win the title from John Cena?
Well, at this point, I guess we're looking at a triple threat situation, which I think is a possibility of what we will have before this is all said and done. Um, at that point, just have Cena beat Del Rio. Have Sandow be a strong contender, have him staying on Cena's heels at all time, maybe get the best of him at the end of certain shows. But in the end, have Del Rio being the one tapping to the STF while Sandow got knocked out from something earlier in the match, and that's that.
Hmm. Burhan, what do you think? Belt or bury Damien Sandow?
I would look at belts in terms of Sandow. I agree with Payton wholeheartedly. Everything that he said never sounded truer in a sense because Sandow was one of those guys. He needed a level of hierarchy in a sense. He didn't need to get pushed all the way to the World Heavyweight Championship. He should have basically been given a mid card run beforehand. The fact that he's going the way that he's going at the moment, it's a shame in a sense. But I would I would basically put the belt on him, the IC title. I'd agree with his logic. Get the belt off of Axel by putting it on Kofi Kingston, and then from Kofi, have him win the championship. I think what they need to do is put him in a nice little storyline with the title, ingrain him in that. Maybe have him go against Cody Rhodes if Cody had nothing to do, or somebody else basically chasing him for a bit. Maybe even put a nice little stable around the guy. Make him a fixture on the mid card until eventually they feel he's ready to move up to the World Championship.
Who would you feud him with when he wins that title? If you had like a first person
There's a
to feud
ton
him
of
with.
guys. You could have Daniel Bryan, CM Punk in a sense. If you're looking at upper mid card, if you're going for like IC Championship material, you've got Zack Ryder, you've got Santino, you've got like literally a ton of guys on the roster. If you were looking at a good match out of him, yeah, Tyson Kidd.
We're going to come back to some of these ideas a little bit later on. Wego, belt or bury, Damien Sandow.
I definitely wouldn't put the world championship on him. I'm very much on the same boat as Peyton with putting the IC belt around him. I think the way you have him come out looking strong in this feud is up until the point where, for one, I don't want this to be a triple threat match with Alberto, Cena, and Sandow. I've seen enough Del Rio. But I think you can string out 2 months of a feud with these guys. I'd initially have the triple threat match with Cena, Sandow, and Alberto Del Rio. Cena taps out Del Rio. Sandow's still got a claim to the championship that he wasn't beaten in that match. And he gets a singles match. And throughout the duration of the feud, he keeps one-upping Cena on the TV shows. It doesn't have to be a straight clean finish, but in a tag match, he can or be able to distract. Basically, you can give him a couple of bullshit wins before Cena eventually beats him. Following that, you're probably gonna have a guy like Big E Langston with the Intercontinental Championship. You could throw him into a feud with Big E and have him beat him on a pay-per-view or a Raw and build a program with those two guys for a month.
Now, what's funny is I thought that we might go a slightly different way with some of the things, but we're all actually on page with giving him a mid-card title. And we're all jumping to the same kind of conclusion of that the Intercontinental title would look better for him than the United States title too.
Because he's got this whole classy vibe to him, and that's so retro and it's like a beautiful looking belt as far as titles go. It's the nicest one in the company.
Yeah, the white and the gold really scream Damien Sandow a lot more than the American flag would. Not that he's like some un-American character or anything like that, but it's still just that's a little too tacky, and the Intercontinental title looks so much classier. I would go almost the exact same way that everybody else is saying. A babyface beats Curtis Axel. I don't know who I necessarily would want to fill that spot. Maybe Kofi Kingston, just because this would be a transitional thing. And if you're going to give it to somebody who is a good transitional champion, there's nobody better than Kofi right now, essentially. Maybe Tyson Kidd. That was a good idea. The thing with Tyson Kidd I'd be a little bit worried about is after he drops it, you have to kind of build him up a little bit, or else that was a pointless title win.
Yeah, there's a rebuilding phase.
Right. And I don't know if Tyson Kidd can survive a rebuilding because he's not charismatic enough to pull it off. But it depends on how much WWE would want to do with him. Maybe even somebody like Santino or Zack Ryder. Zack Ryder's not doing much. Santino's really just kind of a jobber character anyway. So you could have somebody beat Curtis Axel, no matter who it is. Curtis Axel's pretty much shot. And or maybe even an R-Truth if you want to do that.
JTG.
Or hell, Brodus Clay. Fuck, I don't care. Like, whoever it is, anybody can beat Curtis Axel at this point because he's pretty much useless. And don't make a big deal out of it. It's just Curtis Axel losing. He's not dropping it and putting somebody over massively, and now the Intercontinental Championship is so great because you beat Curtis Axel or anything. It doesn't really matter. As much as I want the IC title to be a huge thing, it isn't right now. In the meantime, I think we got to go the same route with the Del Rio thing. Have John Cena beating Del Rio. He's not actually beating Damien Sandow, but Sandow can't get it done. And eventually you got to get to a point where somebody can't just keep getting a title shot. So I think you give Damien Sandow a triple threat match at TLC, or you give him a triple threat match at Survivor Series and maybe even TLC, and Sandow can't get the World Heavyweight Championship, which in the meantime obviously pisses him off. And whoever beats Curtis Axel, they can just have some kind of a backstage segment where maybe Damien Sandow is cutting a promo backstage with Renee Young or whoever, talking about how he just can't seem to win the title and he's the uncrowned champion and all the other kind of gimmick stuff he has going on right now. And this new champion walks by all proud. Hey, you're an uncrowned champion, but guess who is the new champion? It's me. It's Zack Ryder or whoever I am. And he just goes, you know what? Fuck you. I'm going to wrestle you tonight and I'm going to win the title. You have a match on Raw and he actually wins the title away from him. Doesn't matter at all that it's the Intercontinental Championship. He won a championship and now he can start gloating about how he actually is a champion right now. And then you start working with him being the Intercontinental Champion and building some credibility up to it. As far as WrestleMania comes, Dolph Ziggler. I think Cody Rhodes should have that match with Goldust, or actually I think he should have it with Dustin Rhodes. And there's nobody else better to have a match, I think, with Damien Sandow than Dolph Ziggler, especially because Dolph Ziggler is not going to be in the world title picture. As much as I would hope that he would be, he's clearly not going to. And if you're not going to have some kind of a big match with the Authority and make Dolph Ziggler the top guy in that, which I don't think that they'll do, I'd rather him fight for the Intercontinental title and put on a really damn good match and throw some other people in that match. You know, put The Miz and Big Show and Kane and I don't know who else they would end up putting in that, but those kind of guys, the Biggie Langstons and so forth, Kofi Kingston, those guys can fill in that big match, and Ziggler and Sandow can just be trusted to go out there, have a good classic Intercontinental title match, and really make it look that much better. And keep him the Intercontinental Champion for as long as possible. And that'll actually do more for his main event future than this main event thing that we have going on right now. That's pretty much it when it comes to belt or bury. We are all on the same page that we should give a belt to Damien Sandow, but he's not ready for the World Heavyweight title, and he shouldn't be winning it from John Cena, especially not right now at the very least. So does anybody else have any other thoughts that they want to kind of break down for belt or bury? If he is buried in the future, do you think that he can bounce back from it, or do you think that WWE is going to bury him, or do you think that they are going to put a belt on him, even though that might not necessarily be the thing that you're going to do? What do you think, Peyton?
Well, one thing we got to consider, Damien Sandow as a character may still be very new to us, but the man who's playing him has been around for quite a while. He's not very young. He doesn't have a lot of time left. So if he's going to get himself up there, he's got to do it sooner than later. And he's got to get himself liked both from the crowd and from everyone in the powers that be backstage. So this is his time. He had that moment last week with John Cena, and you know what? He knocked it out of the park. Now, I think I could speak for anyone here. There were times in that match where we were pulling so hard for Damien Sandow to win that match. But you know what? Looking back on it now, I'm glad he didn't. But, man, he got me to believe, and he got me behind him. So he's gonna be able to get himself there no matter what.
Brian?
I think he'll get himself there. But there's the whole eventuality to this. With me, as I've said, if they push him properly in this feud with John Cena, I could see him with the World Heavyweight Championship. But the problem is it's Cena. You know, they want to give him a long title reign with that World Heavyweight Championship. You could have Sandow chasing him and establishing himself as a top heel. Anything to get Rio out of it. But I don't know. I think he may be an upper mid-carder for life if they decide to start with the IC title and then maybe switch him over to the US title and go back and forth, same as what they did with Ziggler. They may do that, and he may just be that for a sort of life in that position.
Wego?
I'm pretty much sticking to what I said before. I'm happy with him coming out of this feud, losing. All they need to do is make him look competitive, and he's got a bright future in the company.
I'm actually a little bit more pessimistic. I don't think we're going to see world champion Damien Sandow ever. I think he'll probably be maybe like a 2 to 3 time mid card champion. Maybe there's a chance that they give him the world heavyweight title if they're in a weird situation and a lot of injuries happen or something like we've had in the past. I mean, Kali's been champion. We've given championships to people like Chavo Guerrero for ECW and so forth. So anything could happen, but I got a feeling Damien Sandow, they probably lost their faith in him, and this is kind of their attempt to go, well, we gave him the money in the bank and we're going to try to get something out of him, but I don't think that they're going to trust him to be that guy. If he does end up winning the title, I think that they'll use that as like a transitional thing like Jack Swagger when he won the World Heavyweight Championship. I hope that's not the case because I like him and I think he's got a lot more talent than what they give him credit for, but the more I think about it, the more I think a lot of these people that I was hoping could break out into the main event, like your Kofi Kingstons and your um, Dolph Ziggler to an extent, even the people like Wade Barrett now, I think a lot of them, the time's kind of done, and WWE, they're not going to go forward with him anymore.
I disagree with Wade Barrett. I think it's just a matter of creative not having anything for him, but I think he's got every tool in the world to be a main eventer.
I do too. I just don't think WWE has the faith in him.
That annoys me in the fact that he's had so many stalled pushes. It's unbelievable. But it bugs me to an extent. But hopefully he'll be able to seize it with his new gimmick and push himself to the top the way he's supposed to. But with Sandow, I see a lot more in him. I think he's too good not to push.
Well, let us know what you guys would say. Would you give the belt, or any belt for that matter, to Damien Sandow, or do you think that they should be knocking him down a peg and pushing him to the solid mid card or jobber or tag team division or whatever you think? Maybe you're such an anti-Sandow person that you think that he should be fired from the company or something, but whatever it is, make sure you leave those comments below. Tell us what you think, and maybe we'll go over this a little bit next week when we've got the live show, which will be, of course, November 15th, Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern, megapowersradio.com, blogtalkradio.com/megapowersradio. Our special feature for that episode is going to just be covering all the monthly mailbag questions you guys send in and taking all of your calls live. So keep that in mind. Mark that on your calendars. That's going to knock us out for the special feature for this week, which means let's take care of some Fantasy League business. Peyton, what do you got for us?
Well, nothing much has changed as far as the numbers and the order. Everything stays relatively the same. I had a rough night this past Monday as far as my team goes, so I need to do something. So, Steven, you're actually ahead of me, so I have to ask you first. Are there any subs you want to do this week?
No, I'm good.
All right, good. So, as I said, this past Monday night, I went 4 people were in matches. All 4 of them lost, and the 5th of them didn't have a match. He was just in a backstage interview. Not good news for Team Payton this past Monday. I have to do some switches. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be dropping Luke Harper, who I still think has a great future. I just don't think it's going to be panning out anytime soon. And in his place, I'll be taking the returning Tyson Kidd.
Do you think there's actually going to be something good with Tyson Kidd, or do you think he's just going to get some wins on Raw and SmackDown?
I think he's at least going to get some wins, if not for anything else, because of the Total Divas alignment, which is, if you remember, I had Tyson Kidd on my team for a couple of weeks, a few months back, when they first did Total Divas, because I was expecting him back soon, but it took him a lot longer to come back. So yeah, welcome back to Team Payton, Tyson Kidd.
As long as WWE keeps thinking we're in Canada, you should be okay.
Pretty soon, welcome back to Team Payton, Bo Dallas.
Maybe, we'll see.
Don't stop believing.
Don't stop believing.
So who's next on the trades and whatever?
Well, that would be Burham, but I don't think he's replacing anybody, and I doubt you are either, Tony.
Are you, Burhan?
Nope. I'm keeping my team for the long haul.
Yeah, and I'm not going to replace mine either. I really wish I could replace a couple people, but I can't take anybody who is available to take right now. I would trade with other people, but everybody wants Daniel Bryan or whatever, and I'm not going to get him up. I want to get rid of The Miz. I want to get rid of Bray Wyatt, maybe. I want to get rid of Who the
What
hell?
if all three Wyatt family members were just like on the open roster? Nobody wants them. They're completely worthless properties.
I don't even
Wait,
remember who might have.
Bray Wyatt's open?
No,
No.
I have Bray Wyatt, but I want to
Oh.
maybe get rid of him, but not with anybody who that they would want to trade. Everybody else would be like, I'll trade Eric Rowan for him. Like, sure.
Peyton did that and it bit him in the ass.
So no, I'm not making any trades. Is that it then?
That's it.
All right.
Done.
That takes care of all the fantasy league stuff. So the only thing left to do is to run down some plugs. First plug, as always, Sign Me Up initiative. Bring a Smark Out Moment sign to any kind of wrestling event of any sort, like Awesome Piano Man did last week when he brought a sign to Monday Night Raw. Send me a picture or video of it, and I will put it up on the website as well as on the next episode of Smack Talk. Remember to check out everything else that's under a mango tree, like fanboysanonymous.com for everything geek-related, outonlimbs.com for my opinions on everyday life nonsense, Bleacher Report articles that I mentioned in the Bleacher Report card, so on and so forth, a mango tree, and Tony Mango on Facebook and Twitter and everything else like that. And switching this up, let's go reverse from what we've been doing earlier on in the episode and start off with Stephen Wego.
From me, you can join us next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we're going to be discussing 20 years of the UFC as we look into and predict UFC Hendricks versus GSP. The 20th anniversary show falls on the 10th episode of UDMMA. Myself, Brendan Legan, and maybe Clint Davis will stop by and give all our good thoughts on the MMA world. And of course, November 17th, you can check out the our anime show here on Fanboys Anonymous as we review Danganronpa and a few other anime series.
Brian.
Nerdgenius.com, www.youtube.com/thenerdgenius. I'm trying to figure out Sony Vegas at the moment in order to actually put up the video for the Xbox One tour. I'm having a few issues. Hopefully that's going to be done by the end of tonight. Check out fanboysanonymous.com, Mega Powers Radio. I got gameplay 8 p.m. every Saturday. And for those of you looking for a Toku Nation, you can check out nerdgenius.com. It's going to be there as an article instead of a show, because there's a new show going to be debuting on Mega Powers at some point. So Otaku sort of merged itself into that, migrated over on that side. Apart from that, loads of other things. This Job for Hire, Enigma Entertainment. Just watch your space, guys. And if you want to contact me personally, go to nerdgenius.com and it'll have a list of everything that I do, including the Mega Powers Radio Player, where you can listen to all the good Mega Powers Radio shows on Nerd Genius.
And Mr. Payton.
Just stay tuned to all the awesome stuff we got going on Mega Powers Radio. You've heard people talking about it all freaking night. We got cool things going on there all the time. MegaPowersRadio.com, Facebook.com/MegaPowersRadio, and YouTube.com/MegaPowersRadio.
Alrighty, that'll do us in for episode 105. Thank you to everybody who was on the show and everybody who was listening on iTunes, on Stitcher, or on YouTube. Next week, we will have that live edition of Smack Talk that I've mentioned multiple times before. Stay tuned for that. We're going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to ring out the year, basically, by talking to you guys live. This has been another Smark Out moment, and we're being counted out. Adios, everybody.
5, 2, just a small town boy living in a lonely world. Not ain't going anywhere. Just a small town girl. I don't know the word. Hold on. I don't know the words of this song. That's terrible. Just a small town girl living in a lonely world. She took the midnight train, going anywhere. Just a city beau, born and raised in South Detroit. He took the midnight train, going anywhere. Strangers waiting up and down the boulevard, the shadows searching in the night. Street light people living just to find devotion, hiding somewhere in the night. Don't stop believing. Hold on to that feeling. Streetlight people. Don't stop believing, people.
The fuck?
Outro. There you go. You've had an outro.
There gets the outro in there.
Oh, I still fucked up. You got all you can get out of me.
You fucked up. You fucked up.